Welcome to the Happy Hanukkah Craft Beer Experience, hosted by City Brew Tours. My name is Todd Summers.
And I am Chad Brodsky, and we are going to be your Jewish drinking buddies this evening.
Amazing. So, um, I know people are asking about the YouTube link. Chad, I think, our
Yep.
tech minions are working on it. Maybe there's some issue, but we'll get there. Um, so thanks to everyone for joining tonight. This is our fifth year doing this, which is
Fifth year.
crazy. Time flies. And so there's a few things that are going to be a little different this year. Um, in the past, every night, every beer, we did a live stream. This year, we're doing 2 nights of live stream. You might be like, oh no, that's way less Chad and Todd time. I understand. Chad understands. Some things have changed over the last year. Chad, now everyone gets the clap, has his second child. I have my first child. And we basically realized we didn't have the creative resources to be funny 7 nights in a row. And we just couldn't put together the product we needed for all of you 7 nights straight. So we wanted two incredible nights so that we could think about it as quality over quantity. So basically, what we did is we packed the 2 nights, incredible guests, exclusive insights into some of the best brewers we've ever had on the show. We're going to do some trivia and plenty of the beer pairing magic that everyone is used to, plenty of shtick as well. So you're in the right place. So Chad, we mentioned that this is the interactive drinking thing. Tell the people more, especially the new people.
Yeah, so you mentioned interactive. So while all of you guys, if you've been on a Zoom call, you're expecting probably to see yourself on Zoom. Well, we'd love to see all of your lovely faces. We want to see you interact within the chat. That's going to be where you can ask all of your burning beer questions to our guests as well to me and Todd. And that's where you can interact with other beer loving Jews as well. So Todd, now that we have
I
that
love
out of the way, what's on tonight's agenda?
I love beer loving Jew is a good band name, I think. So yeah, so we've got a delicious beer from Jack's Abbey, Framingham, Massachusetts. Some people mentioned it's their first the first time having this specific beer. And for reasons that are going to be apparent very soon, um, we're going to break like kind of the one, there's like not really rules here, but we're going to break the only rule, which is that we're going to, and this is just for people who are watching tonight, because if you're not watching tonight, you won't get the opportunity to do this. But we're going to encourage you to grab your night 3 beer. We're going to try to do a 2 beer night, which for I have a 6 month old. Chad has a 1 month old. It's a terrible decision for us. If night 3 beer is warm and you want to play along, wet paper towel, wrap that puppy up, throw it in the freezer. Please don't forget it there. It's gonna explode. Um, so
Wet
Chad, who's
paper
joining
towel
us?
is just, it's the best trick that if you've never done it, it will cool down a beer in minutes.
And so who's joining us, Chad?
So we've got some very special guests. As Todd alluded to, we've got 2 beers, and that means we actually have 2 guests. And we've got some pretty heavy hitting guests as well. We got 2 Jewish owned breweries that are one of the top 50 beer producers in the country joining us. And so they just happen to be night 2 and what Todd said, night 3. So we'll be having a conversation with Jack Hendler from Jack's Abbey and Matt Cohen from, if you have night 3's beer and you don't want the surprise spoiled it, mute right now, or reduce your volume, but Fiddlehead Brewing Company. So that's who we've
And we're
got. So with that, Todd.
we pulled out all the stops, Chad. And so we're gonna start with the Jack's Abbey, the extra layer, the Winterfest lager. And before we go any further, we have our housekeeping, which if you've been with us since the deep dark days of 2020, you'll remember the chat is good for banter, tasting notes, any comments. if YouTube starts working and you're watching there, we'll only be able to see comments on Zoom. Um, and you can also find the link. There's QR codes. And if you put questions in the Q&A, we'll see those as well. But the chat is usually where we want to hear. We've got the chat is already going really well with Andy from Conshohocken Brewing is making friends with Alex, who I think they're neighbors, which, that, that's a first, which is very exciting for me. So shall we, Chad?
We shall. But we haven't asked where everyone's from in the chat, did we?
Because everyone already told us. They're like, we're way
Well,
ahead.
they just shouted out. Well, I would love to see more because I think only the veteran people came out. We're like, they know, oh, let's ask. So where are we all tuning in from on this second night of Hanukkah?
Danvers, Massachusetts, which is where North Shore of Boston. We got Brookline, West Covina, California. Assume that's somewhere in California. Wynwood, Pennsylvania. Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Go blue. Chappaqua, New York. Is that your neck of the woods, Chad?
No.
Sounds like Long Islandy. Oh, Chicago. That's my favorite person, whoever that is. Jill, you're my favorite. You come from Chicago.
So YouTube, we're still working on the YouTube live stream, but it will be recorded. So if you missed anything or you want to watch us again after, you can absolutely, there will be a recording for this.
Go
All
Bears,
right,
indeed, Jill.
Todd, I think we're ready.
Cheers.
I need to pour my beer first before we bring on anyone. And you already did it. How awesome are these glasses this year?
It's a
I do
good
not
pull,
have
Chad. I don't.
any kind of glass that looks like this, and I'm very excited.
We're actually on a strict no more glasses policy in my
Yeah,
house.
but you do not have a glass like this in that.
Yeah, I know. This is great. We made an exception.
All right.
Top it off.
L'chaim,
L'chaim.
cheers to everyone. Happy night 2 of Hanukkah.
Two.
All right. Now I think we time to bring on our guests. Get a proper appraisal, maybe, for this beer.
Unless you want to do intros. It's up to you.
Ooh, we should probably do intros for all the new people. I'm all over the place trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing. So I do apologize, everyone, in that regard. So Todd, why don't you kick it off on the intro? Why are you here and why are you hosting Happy Hanukkah for the 5th night, please?
Same answer as every year. You sort of tell me that we're doing this, and I agree. But the first year I reluctantly agreed. The next 4 years I sort of demanded to be asked back. What about me? I live in Vermont, which means that I know a lot about beer because Vermont is synonymous with beer. That's our sort of our thing. We'll learn about that in a little bit. Um, All-Star beer guide, beer company, brewery tour, leader for a long time. I've done this 5 years running. Um, can't believe it. It's one of my favorite things
VIP.
that I look forward to. Um, and excited to do this for 2 nights. It's going to keep me up past my bedtime and it's going to make tomorrow morning groggy, but it's completely worth it.
All right, I think it's my turn, and I think we might
Mhm.
have nope, we don't. All right. YouTube, unfortunately, everyone is probably not going to be working, but there will be that recording. So I'm Chad. I'm the founder of City Brew Tours. Started City Brew Tours back in 2008. Also a certified Cicerone. Been to a lot of breweries because City Brew Tours operates in almost over 23 cities right now across the United States. So if you haven't been on a City Brew Tours, this is my only PSA right now. Go check out citybrewtours.com to see where we're at. If we're in one of where if we're in a close city, and if you're not in a close city, go on a beer vacation to come on a City Brew Tour. All right, intros are done, Todd.
Intros are done. So, extra layer.
Extra layer. Let's bring on our guests.
I think someone knows more about this beer than us. Just my guess.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Could Matt and Jack please turn your video on?
Oh,
And
there he is.
there's Jack.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Happy Hanukkah, night 2, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Should we do the Vermont thing now? I think this is our first for Vermont
Crazy.
panel ever. So, and maybe at one point we were the only 4 Jewish people in Vermont if we were all here at the same time. Um, um, Jack, you went to UVM, is that correct?
My brother Sam went to
Your
UVM. I
brother
didn't know
Sam went to that counts.
that.
You're an alum.
Close enough.
That we
Jack's
don't
probably like,
ask
why are
anymore.
we talking? Like, you know, I'm not from Vermont, right? Like, I'm in
Never.
Mass.
All right,
I lived in
fine. I
Vermont
was.
for a brief period of time, so
Oh,
Oh,
good.
you did
not
live
There
the
we
in
go.
Vermont. All right, then it
concept
still works, Todd.
I'm
You're
familiar.
still good.
Yes.
Perfect. My research pans out. I use ChatGPT. It's only ever like kind of right. Um, and Matt, you obviously Fiddlehead, Shelburne, Vermont. That's where I live.
Yes.
So welcome you two. We'll start since we have extra layer in front of us. Jack, you want to walk us through the beer? You got a bunch of people at home drinking it for the first time. What should they know about it?
Sure. Well, yeah, thanks for having me. And drinking some extra layer, including us in this year's nights 8 nights of Hanukkah. So extra layers a new beer this year that we released. It's a well, what is it exactly? That we got that question a lot. But I guess the
Delicious.
idea about a year ago was our favorite thing is fest beer, Oktoberfest. But the problem with Oktoberfest is no one wants to drink Oktoberfest if it's not October. So we had this idea: how can we make fest beer a year-round thing? And we developed a few beers that we sell year-round. We sell a beer called Porch Fest in the spring and summer. Obviously, we have Oktoberfest in the fall, and then our winter seasonal is Extra Layer, which is essentially a Märzen. It's just a dark fest beer. It's about 6%. Uses a lot of Munich malt. It has a touch of roasted malt, and it's just sort of our idea of what a winter fest beer might be, and just a style of beer that I really love and want to brew year round.
I love that because honestly, after October, I'm not looking for fest. I'm not really in the mood for a Marzen potentially, even though I love the style. But this beer, like having not had the preconceived notion that I'm drinking a Marzen like darker Munich lager, is absolutely delicious. So your strategy is working on me.
Yeah, it doesn't say that on the label, and we've sort of coyly put Winterfest on it.
We only love Oktoberfest beer, and this is our way to trick you into drinking it all year round.
Yeah. So there's different styles of Oktoberfest. For us, we usually do a lighter color, and then this beer is obviously fairly dark. It's almost Dunkel-esque,
Hmm.
and sort of has that really deep red color. I think the color just looks really nice, and you don't see too many dark beers in this sort of vein. That amber style beer has sort of vanished from the craft beer scene in the past 10 years. So it's just an unusual beer, I think, for the craft beer market, where it's really full bodied. It's malty, it's sweet, has a little bit of roast character, has that deep like Munich malt character, and very little hop. Almost, we're talking about 15 IBUs or 20 IBUs, something very small, just enough to balance some of the sweetness in the beer.
Delicious.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the color. It's kind of what I want out of this. And yeah, and it's just nice it's not October. It's like you're squeezing it in December.
And
Yeah,
someone
attracted
mentioned
more
not a
people.
spiced fest, no, not a like winter spice beer, which is what you're doesn't have spruce in this. If it had spruce, guys, it wouldn't be in this in the Hanukkah box anyway. So
Yeah, you have to put Oh,
Yeah, probably a lot of beers that are labeled winter lager or winter fest probably do have spice of some level. It's fairly common this time of year. We don't use a lot of spices generally. Maybe some specialty beers here and there, but yeah, just something that it feels holiday esque without actually having that spices to sort of not to have to hammer home that what this beer is.
Delicious. All right, Todd, I think it's
so
important probably to introduce our folks now that we've gone through our first beer, correct?
I agree wholeheartedly. So let's start with the person we've heard from the most so far. Jack's Abbey, top 50 breweries in terms of production in the country. I'm sure you know the number exactly. Second biggest in Massachusetts production wise. Now with a recent acquisition, a little M&A in M&A.
Yeah, I mean the craft beer world's changing fast, and we're certainly part of some of that transition you're seeing. We've acquired two breweries this year. I don't know what will be for this year. We'll be top 30 or 40 probably this year.
Congrats.
We may be the largest production facility in Massachusetts. We're not 100% sure. Um, so you know, that's sort of crazy to think that we might be the biggest brewery in Mass. Obviously, not the biggest brewery in New England, but something that we've took a very aggressive approach the last few years. The business model is changing a lot. COVID has had a big part of that. Just the industry in general is unusual, and it's a funny place to be right now, where the two strong business models are staying small and local, or big and efficient. We were too big to go small, so we figured the one way to do that was to build the brewery up and to grow it. And we've had some success this year, obviously with some of the acquisitions with Wormtown and Night Shift, but also seeing some success and growth with our core brand of Jack's Abbey. So pretty excited about that.
Here's to you, sir.
Cheers to that. Yeah, I remember back first time I went to the brewery in Framingham, like I think it was lagers on one side, you get ales on the other side, and pizza. It was like it was awesome. But I imagine that's not your main revenue source these days.
No, yeah, you know, the Springdale side is no longer. So at one
Yeah,
point we did have a brand called Springdale. That COVID completely killed that business. We still do have the pizza ovens, and I
so
don't know what the percentage of our business the beer hall is exactly, but even if it's 1%, it's a huge part of our business. It's how we communicate. It's how we bring new beers to life. It's where we experiment and play and have that conversation with our beer drinkers. So, you know, there's a lot that happens at that tap room, regardless of how much we're selling. It's still just a piece of our identity, and it's a way that we really interact with everyone who likes to drink Jack's Abbey.
and it's a huge part of Framingham. It's got to feel like a big part of the community too. And Framingham is a pretty cool Massachusetts town for reasons beyond your brewery, but not as important, obviously.
What else is in Framingham? It's just Jack's Abbey in Framingham.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're the core
Framingham
family.
Natick. Yeah, you get lumped in.
Yeah.
No, Framingham's been great community. We've been, you know, from day one, just the support we've seen from everyone locally has been fantastic, and we're excited to be here. You know, the town, we have a very close relationship with the town. Everyone is in the town, and 2 or 3 years ago, one of the big things that Framingham does over the holidays is they have these huge toy soldiers they put around Framingham, which is actually a city now, no longer a town. And we actually are displaying one of those toy soldiers at the brewery. So very quickly, we became part of a pretty cool seasonal activity that happens here in Framingham.
That's fun. And if you're in the if you have the Christmas beer box, we have Toy Soldier, which is another beer That's in our 12 beers of Christmas. But we're on a Hanukkah stream, so I think let's move on to Matt. You've built a hell of a business. I remember when I first started Brew Tours back in like 2008, when Fiddlehead was just founded. So
Yeah.
can you give a quick intro of because you're also top 50, I think what 20 was the 28?
We started the
28?
year 28. Yeah.
Damn.
We had another great year. We're going to close out this 2024 with 20% growth over that. So we're hoping to drop a few spots on the list for sure. But it's been an incredible ride. I remember the first day you came in and we were both starting up these we both had these dreams, and they were intertwined, and we figured out how to work together and really deliver an excellent product to your customers. So, and I was really instrumental in helping build our tasting room and getting it on the map for sure. So we appreciate everything that
Those 2-ounce tasters that you just.
That's right. But yeah, back in the day, we wanted you to come in. You would give you a free sample of beer to get a growler and get out. Right? It was like the tasting room was like maybe 100 square feet, if that. So it's a little bit different now. But as back then the dream and the inspiration still remains. I started the company in 2011 with one dream, and that was to have a well-balanced, accessible IPA that was readily available in the Vermont market. Definitely had dreams of going outside of the market, but wanted to own my home market first, and that was really our goal in those early years. So focused a lot on distribution. It's a complex business. We were losing money on every keg that was leaving our facility early on, but fortunately, we had a strong tasting room. We had some of those early can sales where we were able to generate revenue, keep the lights on, keep people employed, but continue to drive home our product, which has always been built around a great product at a great price. So that's what continues today, and I think that's really the hallmark of our success. So we have a very small footprint. We're only sold in 10 states. And we this past year, as I said, we grew 20%. That's with opening up known markets. We had double-digit growth in, I think, every one of our markets that we're in, including Vermont. So to this day, 14 years later, we're still able to come up with double-digit growth in our home market. It's incredible because every year we meet for around this time of the year with our distributor partners and talk about our annual business plans, and you're like, oh shit, what's left? Where can we go? And we still seem to find it. So, and that's a testament to, again, delivering a great product, great price. We keep everything cold stored. We won't work with retailers that won't keep our product cold. And we're doing all those sales through the cold box, which is pretty impressive considering the majority of beer is being sold at the end of the aisle in case stacks. So we're really, really proud of what we're able to do with, as I said, that relatively small footprint and are just a very core, very focused core brand of products.
Cheers to you, sir, Matt. That is, and again, it's crazy because it's been with these businesses. Like I came in in Boston. It was 2012. We started Boston, so I remember kind of the inception of Jack's Abbey, and then with Fiddlehead, and you guys both starting in 2011. It's just like these a couple states away, but you guys have built such incredible products and growth that we're so. I'm honored to have you guys on our Happy Hanukkah. So we're really excited to be drinking beers with you guys tonight.
Thank you. Cheers. And I remember that when you first opened up in Boston. You remember that? Me and my team. It was the first time we left the brewery, and we were going down to, I think it was a Cyclorama. It was like one of those extreme beer festivals, right? I think that's what it was. And you pulled up with your group, and you waved and you honked, and we're like, chatting here. You're like, I'm starting out here. I'm doing it in Boston. We're like, that's great.
And for people that didn't know, when I started Brew Tours, I used to wear German lederhosen. I don't wear German lederhosen anymore. That's no longer uniform. Oh, what happened to my video? I don't.
If you would have come back in Lederhosen, that would have been your best bit in the
Been
history
amazing.
of this show.
I've done some good bits, but that would have been an epic one. Awesome.
I had the opportunity of going to Oktoberfest this year for the first time, which was really, really special. I'd never been before, and so I brought some of our staff out there. And man, if you haven't been, it's a must go.
It was a good time.
Chad, you'll take me next year
I will not take you next
as
year.
a
I went
thank
when
you?
I was in college, but I can barely remember it because it was a school-sponsored event that was 12 hours long, where we took a all-you-could-drink train ride there at at 6 p.m. at night, arrived at 7 a.m., had 3 hours to figure out what we were doing, to be at a reservation at the Hofbrau tent, and then 6 hours later, we were back on a train. More of a 24 hour, a little less than 24 hours. I can't do math right now, drinking a beer. But Oktoberfest is very, very different than your your trip back from college, but still definitely a
Absolutely.
must go.
Yeah.
So we typically like to ask some this is the Hanukkah show, so we like to ask some questions you might not get from your average sort of tap room guest. And so I guess for both of you, and I guess we'll go with the IPA for Matt, and for Jack we'll go with the extra layer. If you had to pair your beers with a classic Jewish dish, what are we picking? Tough.
I mean, that's the great thing about beer, and especially about my beer. I think it pairs well with everything, from gefilte fish to matzo ball soup. I think it's and everything in between. I think it really covers all bases. And
Can I
whenever I
force you to give a full? Can I force you to pick one?
no, I won't do it.
Okay,
I want to
fine.
know if you've had your beer with gefilte fish, and if you have, was it jellied or was
Why?
it broth?
You know, I always used to just like slide it off my plate and like try to feed it to the dog, or get it out of there. I can't ever say I really ate it.
Who,
Chad, you
Tyler, you
like
had
it.
jelly or
It was
raw
jellied, yeah.
gefilte
Oh,
fish?
so yeah.
I'm in the Matt school of
No
gefilte.
gefilte fish?
Garbage. Like I want to throw it over my shoulder and hope that no one sees it.
I want to know from the audience, are we pro gefilte fish or anti gefilte fish group tonight? I'm on the pro side. I like gefilte fish as long as it's not jelly. Oh,
Yeah.
look at this. See, Alex is on my side.
Jack, what
I've
about
All right,
never.
you?
now you can
Yep.
put Matt back in in an uncomfortable position of trying to pair now that I got my PSA on gefilte fish, because Manischewitz gefilte broth fish, a little bit of bitter herb from Passover is perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so do you have what have you had from a Jewish food, Matt, that was with your Fiddlehead IPA?
Well, I've had it through all occasions. So, some potato latkes were great. That's always a good pairing, and a
That's
little bit of
awesome.
applesauce on there. Kind of touches on some of those fruit notes in the IPA, perhaps. So,
I get that. I
yeah.
could go for some latkes applesauce and a Fiddlehead.
Mm-hmm. I think I've probably done that too. I make them every New Year's Eve. So
Oh, nice.
You make
just kind
latkes
of
on New Year's Eve? I did not know that.
oh yeah.
Interesting.
It's a
I
great
don't
way to
make
make the house
latkes. I just buy
smell
Trader
for the
Joe's
next.
latkes because they're on point.
Yeah, you know what? I picked some up the other day. They're not bad.
They're not bad. They're solid latke. Todd, if you haven't had it, you got to try it.
Yeah.
People used to try, Chad. People used to like really work on things, hammer in the nail. Now you just buy it at the store. Jack, what about you? Tell us a little about the Not Mars and Winterfest Lager pairing.
Pairing. I'll choose two non-Passover dishes to pair with the beer, maybe.
True. Good point.
Certainly Matt stole my line at pairs with everything, but I don't know. Probably like brisket or roast beef, or not roast beef. Like a roast. Is it roast beef? What is it? Brisket, whatever. Some sort of meat.
Brisket is pretty common.
Yeah, like I don't know, but trying to think of what other dishes might go with beer. I don't know how many dishes were originally intended to be paired with beer, but
Not many. Hebrew National. Hebrew National, I think.
there we go. Yeah, some good hot dogs. There we go.
I like maybe tuna fish. I think that could work. That's like adjacent, like deli tuna. Um, okay, I have a Matt. I have this is more of a Shelburne, Vermont question for you.
Sure.
How many jars of pickled fiddleheads do you sell out of your tap room every year? Do you know
We
that
sell a
number?
lot. It's I don't have the number offhand, but I can tell you it is within our top 5 items, and beer being one of them. Yeah. So we meet.
Actually,
Yeah, so we buy them. We can only, they're only this one lady, she goes out and harvests them in the spring, and then she pickles them all up. So we have to buy them for the entire season. So we put out a lot of money, and like
you
early
have
on,
one vendor.
one vendor. We have one vendor. She makes them all. She does a fantastic job. And I remember early on having to lay out all this money for pickled fiddleheads, and early on you're starting out like cash is king. You just need as much as you can to keep the lights on and keep brewing beer. And like here I am investing in pickled fiddleheads. But happy to do it. And it gives a lot of people their first experience with trying a fiddlehead, like people who are unfamiliar with what a fiddlehead is. And for those who aren't familiar, it's the head of a fern. It's the first thing that grows here in the spring. It's the first thing that pops out, and you harvest the head of the fern before it starts to open up, and then it tastes very similar to asparagus, or I don't know. I don't know how large your viewership is, but I don't really like fiddleheads. Don't get the word out, but I don't really like it. But I love the name, and I love the concept, and right away we were able to riff off that and come up with beers like Second Fiddle and things like that. So
Jeff wants you to ship jars of pickled fiddleheads as part of a new product line.
okay, I think if you went to our website, I think we could probably ship those to you. But
Really?
Yes,
Did not think that was a possibility, but that is awesome.
it probably is.
Hasn't been requested before.
Probably, yeah, I would say so.
That's amazing. I was expecting you to be like, yeah, it's sort of there because it's like the name of the brewery, but it's amazing that people, I guess, the Vermont contingent is like, we want those fiddleheads.
Yeah.
So both of you guys have built like these world-class like core beer products. How did you just make that decision to do it? Was it a data-driven decision at the beginning when you saw, hey, these beers are starting to sell really well? Was it you built the whole concept on, I just want to make this, like Matt said, just this amazing IPA at the on front? Jack, why don't you kick it off for that one?
Yeah, I don't think I was. Well, my brothers and I were quite didn't know what the hell we were doing. We weren't quite as smart as Matt and really knowing what the market was and what the goals were. But we knew what beer we liked, and um, certainly it's been a struggle. I mean, lager is certainly when we started was a struggle to get craft drinkers thinking of lager as craft. There's that association with macro lager. I mean, I remember telling all my brewer friends that I was going to start a brewery focused on lager. They all told me I was crazy and this was not a viable business plan. And they were partially right. The only thing we had going for us is no one else was really doing it. So there was just enough people, if you spread the beer out enough, to support the brewery. And the joke for the last, how long have we been open? 13, 14 years now, is that it's the year, it's going to be the year of the lager. So I'm not sure it's the year of the lager just yet, but certainly lager no longer has that awful connotation that it had when we opened, and a lot of craft brewers are delving into lagers. So there is a lot of interest in lager now. I think it's going to continue to grow, and I think we're in a well positioned to sort of be able to take advantage of that shifting consumer interest and demand over the next few years.
I think you definitely, at least from a Northeast perspective, expanded people's palette of what lagers can be with like a Haponius and some of your other just people would taste it and be like, this is a lager kind of thing. Like you really were able to kind of expand people's minds when it came to what a lager
that
is.
was very intentional. We do a lot of lager for lager's sake here, and not necessarily even because it's beer that I personally love or that we know will be particularly successful in the market. It's more a way of us to brand lager as something other than light fizzy beer, which there's nothing wrong with light fizzy beer. It's a lot more than that. And so we're going to push those boundaries, really try to make people think about what they're drinking, why they're drinking it, and hopefully change people's perception of what a lager is. And, that opens up the ability to do a beer like this, which is not a golden lager. It's also not something crazy, and able to get interest in a beer like we're drinking tonight.
Yeah, I think like when we started to see a little bit of shift in the market, I don't know, maybe it was 5 years ago, right? Or like or at least when I started to notice it from a consumer perspective, and there was like the crispy boy craze. Like everyone was just like, I can't have another 8% IPA. I've gained too much weight. Like I fall asleep too early. It's too hard. But I don't think you didn't just say we just sell post shift now, right? Which I think is probably one of your better sellers. But I feel like there's always been Copper Legend on shelves, and when it's in season, and you've done a really good job of expanding of having a full range of offerings, and you sort of went wide. Does that feel right?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we definitely have a lot of brands, year-round brands. It's one of the challenges of our the beer. Just for our brewery, we have so many beers, so we sometimes have 7, 8 beers that we have out at any given time, and then we have specialty beers on top of that. So we do cast sort of a wide net as far as lager goes. Most of it's sold local, so we go fairly deep within the places that we sell the beer, but we do it across a lot of SKUs. So our best-selling beer is really only 30% of our volume, and then we have maybe 4 or 5 that are like 15%. So it's an unusual lineup of beers for a brewery. Normally you would have sort of a flagship that is a high percentage of your sales. But because of the beers that we're brewing and sort of just where the market is, we brew a lot of different lagers. We need every lager drinker available to do what we want to do. There's just not as many craft lager drinkers as there are IPA. I mean, IPA is still well over 50% of the craft beer market. It's certainly what craft beer drinkers, for the most part, want to drink. And so we are definitely going against the grain when it comes to some of the styles of beer we're trying to sell.
It's a little zigzag. We've got kind of water and oil in terms of the two breweries we brought on tonight, because I think you run your businesses in almost, in fairly opposite styles. We were talking to Matt before he hopped on, and he was like, we wanted as few SKUs as possible, right? We wanted to do one thing insanely well, and it shows that there's multiple ways to skin a cat. Don't skin cats, but there's many different ways to run a business in the beer industry.
Hundreds.
And like literally, there's
Yeah. That's
so many
what's so
options.
great about this industry is and there's literally hundreds of different ways to do it. And so if you get a group of brewers in the same room, which is hard to do, everyone's doing it differently, and no one way is right. But you can definitely draw inspiration from others who have come before. And a lot of my inspiration was drawn to from like larger brewers like AB, right? They make one product, they'll sell it to you 20 different ways, but it's the same product. And it's the same every single time that you drink it, which is, you can't say that about all craft beer.
And so that'll segue pretty perfectly into the beer that I just opened because I'm not sure that I've consumed any beer more times than the Fiddlehead IPA. One, the brewery is 6 minutes from my house. It's true.
That doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Location,
No,
location.
exactly. Real estate and beer. So Matt, can you walk the viewership through the flagship Fiddlehead IPA? Give us
Sure.
the appraisal.
So that's what I set out to do when I originally started. We started with a 15-barrel system because I wanted to open up a distribution brewery. I knew that IPA at the time, there was a lot of excitement around. The Alchemist had just started. Sean Hill was starting to make beer. There was a lot of buzz around Vermont at the time. And my goal, I looked towards at the time, Switchback in Vermont was, they were really on a tear, and they were
One beer.
quietly. What's that?
They had one beer.
One beer.
One
They
beer.
had one beer. They had it on draft. And at the time when I opened, I think they were in like 98% of selling accounts. So they had incredible market penetration. And but I really saw that I was able to read the tea leaves and see that hoppier styles were becoming a lot more predominant. And that's where people were gravitating towards as craft beer consumers. So there was not a well-balanced, accessible IPA that was readily available in the Vermont market. So that's what I set out to do, and we were going to do that by delivering a great product, and again, do it at a great price. I felt at the time it was like $5 was a good price. This was 2011, so that was the going rate at the time. I felt that should be a good price, and I just worked my keg price backwards. And as I said earlier, I was losing money on every keg that left the door, but I was building a brand. So that was our focus, and we did that with this beer that everyone's trying. So it's a really well-balanced, accessible IPA. It's not very bitter. We use a lot of hops during the dry hopping process so that we give the beer those hoppy notes and hoppy aromas that people like. However, we do that without a tremendous amount of bitterness. But as the styles kind of changed, our beer actually is on the more bitter scale. There's a lot of softer IPAs out in the market today that focus more on mouthfeel and hop flavor as opposed to hop bitterness. So we're kind of somewhere in between. And the beauty of the beer is I hear it from people all the time. Oh, I hate IPA, but I love your beer. Well, you probably don't like IPA, but you at least have an open mind, and I appreciate that. So it's a really yet on the other end of the spectrum, we get the hardcore beer geeks or beer consumers, your hardcore craft consumer that finds valuable attributes in our beer. And oftentimes, you go to the supermarket, we want to be the best beer in the supermarket. We want to be the best beer at Fenway Park. We want to be the best beer at Citizens Bank Ballpark in Philadelphia. These are areas where we're killing it, and we're obviously able to get through to the core consumer there, and they're loving what we're doing.
Has the beer changed since inception to now, or would you say it's been pretty much the
No,
same beer
absolutely. I mean,
since?
Chad, I like to think that I have most of the answers, but not all of them. And especially when it comes to brewing beer. And that's what I love. And I'm sure Jack could say the same thing. That's what I love about beer, man. I learn something new every day, And with the where beer and manufacturing is today compared to when I first got into the industry in the mid 90s, it is night and day. I mean, every single one of our pieces of our equipment right now is online. When I first started out, there was no internet, you know, and it's just it's great to see the evolution and the products that are available today to modern brewers. But you know, it's a great time to be alive and be both a consumer and a brewer. And I really just love the art and I love the craft.
And this might be, we'll see how good my brain is. Have you, I think your footprint, like if we think of a football coach's coaching tree, you have a sort of a footprint of people who learn to brew under you who have started breweries in Vermont. That's true? And is that something that's important to you?
Well,
Still
I mean,
doing
I've
it?
worked in my other job you know, I was the head brewer at a the largest brewery in the state for many, many years. And there I worked with a lot of people that have gone on to both start their own projects as well as become part of other people's dreams. And it's great. I mean, it's like a university, and it's you know it's a very small knit community. So it's very important to get to know people and to help people out when you can, but also realizing, you know, that it's a business at the end of the day. And although I want to see other people succeed, I'm more concerned about my own brand succeeding, and I'm more interested in my own market share than others.
Makes sense. I remember when it was like, oh, this guy from Magic House like leaving to start his own brewery. You should go talk to him. When I was
Yeah.
doing crazy, Matt, just to have you on and just to see how far the business has come. It's awesome. So, Jack, I had a question for you. So, like, you started this, Matt. He did it only by himself for the most part. You had two other people, your brothers, to help you with the business. I started City Brew Tours by myself. I'd love to just understand kind of what's the dynamic of if I started, hopefully my brother's not watching this, but like if he wanted to start a bit, I don't know how it would go. Like it would be an interesting situation. We might kill each other. So
You
how
would.
how is that?
Yeah, that's common feedback that we get is like, how the heck can you work with your two brothers? But you know, it's a struggle no matter who you work with. Like, you know, your brothers, you might as well work with your brothers because at least you can yell at them and fight with them, and you're back to normal the next day. If you're have an actual business partner you fight with, you know, that's maybe a bigger problem. But my two brothers and I, we grew up in a family business. My grandfather started a nice company that my dad and uncle worked at, and my brothers and I worked there as well. So we were familiar with the ins and outs of working in a family business, so it wasn't a huge surprise to us. And I think it works well. We each have our own parts of the brewery that we operate. So I run the production side. My brother Sam's the CEO. He runs more the sales, marketing, business development, all that sort of fun stuff. My brother Eric is um, runs the office, accounting, that sort of thing. So we each have our own um, oversight within the brewery, and it works well because I really don't have any interest in accounting or sales or marketing. I like brewing beer, and my brothers don't really care so much about the brewing side. They like the other aspects, so it works well for the three of us.
Love that. So
It's
every
checks and
meal, so
balances.
all Seder's, any Jewish gathering, all that's write-offs, right? So like your Passover Seder is a full write-off because the three of you are together. Correct?
Exactly. As long as
Is
we're
that
talking
allowed
about
on
brewing
from a
for a little
tax
bit,
code
yeah.
perspective? We all know beer is a write-off for all
That's
of
right.
us.
That's
Absolutely.
Chad's
Yeah.
favorite. The beer as a write-off joke. If I had $1 for every time Chad has used that joke in my just when I was president, I would be
It's
retired.
great at selling
It's
franchises.
I used to sell the franchises for City Brew Tours. I would handle the sales process. We would get pretty like really close to getting them to say like, yeah, I want to start a City Brew Tours business in my area. I'd bring Chad in. Hey, I'm Chad. Do you know that beer is now a tax write-off for you? It was like he just like he would push the button. He couldn't stop himself. It was amazing.
Well, that is
We've
definitely
dominated. I think we've dominated the questions, but there's people in the audience. We have homebrewers. We have a lot of different people. If you guys have questions for these guys, we'll give you guys about 5-6 more minutes to ask some questions. Now's the time. If not, then we got more questions and might call it an evening.
Let's see if we have any there. Someone,
We had a
I'm
bunch.
gonna say this name wrong. Cedron, maybe? Where they said, where do you get your hops?
we get ours primarily from Yakima Valley in Washington State, but we also get some from Australia and Germany and wherever the best hops are being grown, really. And it's a different game now. When we first started, there was a hop shortage and it was really difficult to get your hands on hops, but the times have changed and hop producers really need our business. So they're a little more quick to answer our calls, aren't they, Jack?
Sure are. Yeah.
Same for you, Jack.
Yeah, we the Jack's brand is maybe 35-40% of what we brew now with our other brands in our contract business. So the Jack's brand predominantly uses German hops, but we use a lot of American hops now. We're probably more than 50% IPA at this point. Be Hoppy at Wormtown is our number one SKU that we brew. So we brew more Be Hoppy than anything else, any other brand. And some of the night shift beers are high volume as well, and a lot of hoppy IPA brands. So we are using a lot of Yakima, Washington State, your
Be
typical
Hoppy is your
Citra.
number one produced SKU.
It sure is. So Wormtown is
across
smaller
Jack's
brand
Abbey,
than Jack's, but for single SKUs, Be Hoppy is the largest volume brand at the brewery. Yeah.
That's
did not
amazing.
anticipate that.
Yeah, that's sort of shocking.
Yeah,
What I
the
was
crazy thing is
expecting.
it's a very interesting brand because it sells something like 80% of their beer in a 20-mile radius of Worcester. It's such a local brand. We tell no one that we know knows of Wormtown, and it's crazy because they were selling before COVID. They were selling 35,000 barrels of beer. They were not a small brewery, and just they went so deep in their local market and didn't really sell beer in other states other than Rhode Island, a little bit in New Hampshire, and that's it. And even in Boston, you don't really see Be Hoppy in Boston. It's a distributor. They didn't start selling in Boston. They started just in Worcester, and then it took a few years until they went to other parts of the state. So it's sort of a under the radar large brand that is only really well known in the Worcester market.
That's crazy because the last time I saw someone drink a Be Hoppy, I was in Worcester, Massachusetts. It was like a month ago.
You can't go anywhere in Worcester
crazy.
without a Be Hoppy. Yeah.
They happen to have a place at the state at Gillette, so that's right.
Yeah.
Wormtown still has their brewery in Gillette, or not?
Correct. Yeah, they have the tap room in.
Is that staying, or is that gonna?
Yep, that's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, the people of Worcester would revolt if you moved it from Gillette. They'd lose their mind. You can't do that. Okay, the hops question. Okay, it is a smiley face for the label, Jonathan. Like a classic smiley face. Alex is here. Heads up, that probably isn't his government name. Said last year we had a brewer talk about hop water as a new product being released for the new generation who doesn't drink anything of interest. Matt's face made me think that he would rather drink oil.
I
Phil
have
is
to
not
be.
having any NA beer, it sounds like.
I have to be passionate about it, and I am not passionate about hot water or NA beer. I'm sorry. And it's definitely when I mean when it first came out, I was one of those guys. I was like, really? And non-alcoholic beer, and it's taken on. It's got some legs. I don't know that it's gonna continue at the same pace of growth that it's seen these last few years, but it definitely will continue to be part of the beer landscape. But again, I got to be passionate about something to get behind it. So no interest.
My take on NA beer, I told this to Chad a while ago. NA beer their sales will directly tie to how the economy is doing. It's like the most luxury good I could ever imagine, right?
Right.
It's the expenses of beer with none of the like beer benefits, right? If sure, beer tastes great, but like I think if people are watching their pocketbooks, the like beer that doesn't get you drunk is probably one of the first things to go.
Or watching calories, sure, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're getting you still get fat. Um, Jack's Abbey hop water coming in 2025.
Probably, yeah. Something we've been working on a bunch. And I
I
happen to
love
like
it.
the hop water. Again, I don't really see it as a non-alcoholic version of beer, though. I see it as essentially seltzer, and I love seltzer. It's just sort of a take on seltzer. I'm sort of in the same boat with NA beer. I mean, beyond like the costs associated with trying to produce NA beer, um, what's I always feel ridiculous about these things because I end up being completely wrong about every single trend, and so like maybe NA is the next big thing, and we're totally missing the boat here. Um, but I haven't really found one that tastes great, and isn't that the whole point? Like, who cares about the alcohol part? If the drink tastes good, I want to drink it. And is that just my comparison to beer that is causing that issue, or is there something bigger there? And I think that's going to be a question for the consumer. Do they want 70 calories of carbs without the alcohol? Does it actually taste that good, or is it literally you want to look like you're drinking beer but not drink beer, which I think is like a weird way to go about not drinking personally. But so that's just something we're trying to figure out. We're definitely not opposed to NA beer. It's interesting, but I'm not quite there yet with being able to do that at our facility.
So
We could probably do an
2025,
hour on it.
no NA. Yeah, we could talk about NA beer. For me, I'm actually pro NA beer. I went to Ireland, I went to Dublin, I went to the Guinness factory, and I did a blind tasting to see if I could taste the difference between Guinness Zero and regular Guinness. And mind you, they took 4 years to produce this beer. So the cost associated to probably making this was next level, but they brewed that beer is, you can't taste the difference between those two beers. A Guinness that's 0% alcohol and regular is, so the big guys can do it
Let me guess,
100%.
Chad, they both tasted roasty.
Yeah.
They
I'm
both
gonna
tasted
say,
exactly
yeah.
like a Guinness. It had
Right.
zero taste difference. But I can see I'm starting to come around on the NA beer. Maybe I'm being provocative, but uh, I can see where I can't be drinking beer when I have a newborn, right? But I could still kind of drink an A beer, right?
I'm gonna
If you look
quote my wife.
I feel
to
like we
Germany, it's
frown
sort of
upon
interesting
newborn and beer.
where NA beer in Germany has been around for a while and it's still growing strong. It's becoming a big part of that market. Um, and the Germans have that interesting issue where they're such a beer country, but they're also moving away from drinking. So they drink the NA beer. So it is an interesting insight onto where NA beer could go, because it is becoming a really important part of that beer market over there. And we hear about Athletic here, but I think in general, our levels of NA beer are probably pretty low compared to some other countries.
Yeah.
My wife's uncle is he's in his 70s, and he said something hilarious to me once where we were talking about NA beer because he owns a little general store, and he said, "I don't get the point of it. I drink beer to get high." And which is just like the most 75-year-old guy thing to say. And I sort of agree with him. Like I think that's sort of the unspoken part, is that like one of the fun parts about drinking beer is it like makes me funnier, it's like, or all of the like those associated benefits, which probably as brewers and as people who own breweries, we're not trying to say like come buy our beer because it gets you drunk, but like
It's one of the value propositions
Sure.
yeah,
for
exactly.
drinking.
And so for me, it's like I'm firmly in the stance of like if it's not because if the alcohol isn't there, I'm gonna eat a cheeseburger, and that's like pretty clear cut for me. But I think we could probably reconvene in a month's time
I have one request though. Maybe next year, this is a big ask, guys. A collab Jewish Brewers Hanukkah beer, Fiddlehead and Jack's Abbey. Is it possible? I don't
oh
know
my
what
God,
I'll
it would be
do to make it
Really
hilarious.
happen,
niche.
but
That's niche.
I think we could. I think there's a business there. I think we could
I don't
sell
think they'd
out.
ever. They couldn't agree. They would have to like blind pick. Like they would never agree on a single thing. Like every aspect of every part of their business is. Like, Matt does it all by himself. Jack has two brothers. Matt
I
makes
think we could do it.
5 things. Jack makes a million. It's perfect. Um, it's great, fellas. This was lovely. This is one of the reasons why Chad doesn't have to drag me to stay up well past when I'm usually asleep. Um, Always great to talk to the brewers. So if you have any parting words for us, we'll end here and see the rest of the people watching in about a week.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Thank you for everything you guys do. Chad, when you first started out, we were starting out at the same time, and to see how much it's grown and to hear from you, all the different cities you're in, it's really an incredible job that you've done in your team. And it's all about the people, right? At the end of the day, and you've always had great people that have come through and helped tell our story, because there's no better place to tell your story than in your tasting room, right?
100%.
And you, as our representatives, you've always done right by us. So thank you very much. And cheers to all the great Jewish brewers out there. I know there's a lot of us out there, and we're making great beer every day. So thank you very much to everybody and for our support. And it's great seeing everyone on the panel. It's great seeing Jack again. It's been a couple of years since I've seen you, I think. So congrats on all your success.
You as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate inviting me on tonight, and always happy to talk beer, especially for Hanukkah. So that's great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you
You think it's
guys
because we're
so
all
much.
good at business, maybe? Is that why?
All the Jewish brewers. There is not a list of Jewish brewers, so just for everyone in the audience, it is very difficult to figure out who's Jewish in the craft beer scene, because it's not something advertised by any stretch of the imagination. So
Chad and I analyze last names for hours, try to figure it out.
Like Cohen, check.
Oh well, this guy's last name is
you're
Berg,
easy. You're
but
good. You're high priest. You're fine. So it's great to have you guys on. Thanks so much. And yeah, we'll call it tonight, right, Todd? I'm
sounds
gonna
good
just
to
take
me.
you guys. If you guys want to just Jack and Matt, you want to just turn off your videos and we'll end it. Awesome. Great guests. Super, super excited to have Jack and Matt on.
You created your favorite cookie tonight.
I know. It was great. We haven't done a panel. We have never done a Brewers panel before in
That's not
5 years.
true.
No, we did once.
Mm-mm.
It was an accident.
Once the first year,
It was an accident.
the last
I think
night
we
it
just
was.
I think we just misbooked people.
No. We did it on purpose. It was Exhibit A. It was the Sufgan Yacht beer brewer.
You're right. You're right. It's true.
And Sonia Marie?
I don't remember. Like them? I'm not sure. Either way, it was great to have them on.
It's amazing to do it.
So for everyone, we'll see you guys on the last night of Hanukkah, 8:30. That is the second, right? We get two Hanukkahs in 2025. Todd, you know that? 2 Hanukkahs.
That's something.
You're gonna get 10 days of
Schmaltz. Yeah,
presents.
that's right, John. John, that's who I was referencing. John
Oh, yeah.
remembered. See, I had to keep it. I had to keep you in check for
I'm
the
impressed.
OGs.
I can't remember what I did yesterday, so I appreciate that. You get 10 nights of presents in 2025. Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. January 2nd. See you then.
Sounds good to me. And for anyone watching on YouTube, this will be on in about 24 hours on YouTube.
Happy
All
Hanukkah.
right. Happy Hanukkah.